There's definitely something to the process that happens when you are working on a beloved IP like Spider-Man, for example, as example in this video. But the symptom is actually always the same. The outcome's always the same. You get handed some beautiful franchise that is beloved by many. You get a bunch of followers on Twitter because you are writing that book or writing that movie, and suddenly you think, wow, I'm important. People want to know what I think about complex political issues. Sure, I had 37 followers before, and now I have 400,000 because I'm in charge of the narrative for one of the most beloved superheroes on the planet in Spider-Man, but they're not following me for that. They want to hear what I have to say about Drumpf or about this election or about people that don't get the poke. Heck, even me, a channel that is essentially people tune in to hear my opinion. Even I know they don't necessarily want to hear my opinion about specific political things or, medical procedures. But not in the Marvel, not if you work for Marvel, not if you work for DC or if you're in Hollywood. You actually start smelling your own farts and you think they're delicious. You think it's real. Marvel writer Dan Slott doubles down on bullying fan over Twitter activity, demands the fan deletes tweets discussing previous incident. This is via Bounding into Comics. Following Marvel writer Dan Slott's recent policing of fans' Twitter activity, wherein he blocked and scolded a fan simply for following various Comicsgate affiliated accounts, the current Fantastic Four helmsman has doubled down on his bullying, going to take issue with the fans' discussion and demanding he delete tweets related to the incident. Shortly after Slott's passive-aggressive attempt to enforce an ideological purity test was brought to widespread attention by Bounding into Comics, said fan YouTuber Joshua Quirk was invited to discuss his unfortunate interaction with a Marvel author in an August 24th live stream hosted by YouTube channel I Love Comics. Appearing on the show, Quirk explained to host Angleton? Sorry. I don't even see myself as someone who is part of the culture war. I just got accused of something and I was like, wait, hold up. Wait a minute. I got to defend myself. Given that he and his interaction with Slott were the primary focus of the story, Quirk eventually went on to share links to both Bounding into Comics reporting the story and his own appearance on the I Love Comics to his Twitter followers. A pair of decisions that once again would lead him to being the target of Slott's ire. As seen in direct messages exchanged between Quirk and Slott, provided to Bounding into Comics by Quirk himself, once Slott took notice of Quirk's sharing of the two aforementioned pieces of media coverage, the Marvel author charged into the YouTuber's direct messengers and bellowed, "Oh, for F's sake, why is that the first and third post on your feed? Why?" Angleton asked me to talk about the article. I stuck up for you and said you were actually a good guy. I really did. You can watch it, defended Quirk. And the third post is me saying, oh boy, because it's a crappy website, Bounding into Comics. Dan, I'm not an a-hole, man, the YouTuber reasoned in conclusion. However, Quirk's explanations were, yet again, unsatisfactory for Slott, by the way, longtime Spider-Man author, who proceeded to assert Angleton is a Comicsgate guy, and confirm that the whole reason I originally said I was blocking you is because you were following Comicsgate people. And you were like, I didn't know that, and falsely continued, as Quirk never denied knowledge that some of the people he were following were affiliated. And you've given them a boost on your site, and they're getting their word out there. This is unhinged for a Marvel writer to be in a regular dude's... I've never even heard of this dude. Maybe they have a huge YouTube channel. Like, literally, I don't know. There are plenty of channels with 10 million subs that I've never heard of. I think I would have. But I'm assuming it's not a huge YouTube channel. But again, I could be wrong. No disrespect, seriously. Though Quirk affirmed that he even came on here to tell you about it in an attempt to assuage Slott's anger. The writer chose to instead lecture Quirk on his own personal belief that Comicsgate is a hate group. This isn't a both sides thing, he said, repeating his argument from his initial argument with Quirk. This is a group that came into existence by harassing LGBTQ plus members, incorrect, POC, incorrect, and women working in comics, incorrect. I can link you to a dozen mainstream press articles that break this all down. Oh, mainstream press? Give please. It must be true. It must be. No matter what BS comic gators like to spin, they're a hate group. This is a common of TDS people that would just never recover from that. Slott was definitely a TDS guy. And, you know, it was bad enough that it was going on during the presidency and he alienated, you know, over half of his followers. And make no mistake about it. When you, like, talk incessantly politically, you alienate more people than just that half that disagree with you, because most of the people that follow you is because you wrote Spiderman. They don't want to hear your ravings about Drumpf. And no matter what they say, they're not a hate group. Like, come on, dude. Like, they're crypto meanies. Slott further exclaimed, they have a member on their live streams who's associated with the Proud Boys. Okay. This isn't rocket science, man. Look at how unhinged he is. I don't think I've ever sent a DM this long. And he sent tons of them. You don't balance that out by also following Chip Zdarsky. This isn't some kind of algebra equation where it somehow makes it okay. So he's policing a Marvel writer. Is doing a purity test on everybody an account follows. Look, I follow a lot of people on Twitter. Not all of them I agree with. I try to follow people that I don't agree with too, so I know, you know, how things are being spun and how things are being presented maybe on the other side. I try to educate myself, and you know what? Sometimes, believe it or not, I'm wrong. And if I didn't follow people that I didn't agree with, I would never come to that conclusion. And you don't get to have conversations with members of a full-on hate group, he asserted in his rant. I don't know how else to explain it any simpler than that. Boy, what a smug a-hole. Do you know somebody like that in your life? Because like these Twitter weirdos, I've never met someone like this in real life who's like this dude, you could just tell, thinks he's just so much better. Like, he's moralizing down at the plebs. In conclusion of his rant, Slott demanded, essentially, obedience from Quirk, stating, let me rephrase an earlier DM. Why are those still the first and third posts on your feed? In a repeated attempt to have Quirk delete his tweets. After linking to a number of heavily biased and poorly researched articles on the subject of Comicsgate from the Miami Herald, Washington Post, and Inverse, Slott finally gave Quirk a chance to interject, at which point the YouTuber told the Marvel writer, I'm not into that side of comics. I'm actually quite ignorant on Comicsgate because they are a cult, wrote Quirk. I'm friends with John. By the way, I had him on my channel. He will say I'm not into that crap. Nothing that he ever had the chance to delete his tweets. Noting that he never had the chance to delete his tweets because he had been actively speaking with Slott, Quirk asked, what do I have to do to make you believe me? Dan, I'm a fan. I really am. Please don't make me have a bad experience with you. Dude, stop groveling. Quirk, dude, these people hate you. They hate you. They hate that they have to work for you. They want you to just bend the knee and worship them as deities. Shut up and give me money is what most of these people, that's what they want the interaction to be between them and their quote-unquote fans. As Quirk followed up his plea with confirmation and said the tweets were gone, Slott mustered a thank you in response. In messages sent to Bounding Into Comics, Quirk explained that he chose to reach out and share his private correspondence with Slott because I'm actually really upset about it and he shouldn't get away with this. When informed the staff that he would set out to write a follow-up article on Slott's behavior, Quirk told Bounding Into Comics, thanks, I used to think you guys were crazy, but I know now that I was wrong about that. Once again, choosing to take passive-aggressive route, Slot followed up his exchange with Quirk by tweeting to his followers, "A hard lesson to learn on social media. Talking about awful people and bad faith arguments gives them oxygen. If you try to shine a light on a bad actor, you're actually giving them a signal boost and extending their reach." This is like a pro-censorship argument, right? If you talk about not talking about something on the internet, you're still talking about it. I mean, sure, but us adults in the room know that the best disinfectant for things is sunlight and not to like pretend it doesn't exist. But I suppose that's the best way you handle things when you're a 60-year-old man who still has the brain of a 12-year-old. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stop giving these people your money. We'll talk to you again real soon.